think it might be okay to take this We're just trying to make it.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. So if you'd like to kind of congregate in our little sectioned off area here. I am Pastor Brian Sachs, and welcome to Bainbridge Community UCC and our Trans Rights Rally for Geauga County, Ohio, and everywhere. We are excited to be hosting this. We are excited to have partnered with many organizations, both statewide and in Northeast Ohio. We have Betty Jacobs here from LGBTQ plus Allies Lake County.
Yay!
We have Geauga SOGI from Equality, Ohio. We have SOGI Geauga. We have the Social Justice and Advocacy Ministry of Federated Church, Chagrin Falls. And Chesterland UCC as well. So, welcome everyone for this time of community and empowerment. A few couple housekeeping notes quick. If you need to use the restroom, we have this lovely sidewalk here. Please mind the wires for the speakers. And then down the sidewalk, if you go right in, is the door. Bathrooms are to the left. As well, we will be having some activity portion later for us to make sure voices are heard, but we'll get to that at the end. Right now, I'd like to turn the mic over to our first partner, the person I reached out to when we had the idea to do this, Betty Jacobs.
She's short.
Don't even act like you're bigger than me. You'll be needed down too. You're just glad I said it. Hi everyone, thanks for coming out and spending the afternoon with us. I was excited when Brian brought up the idea to do this. We don't have a lot of support in Geauga and Lake County, so it is awesome to see all of you out here supporting us and understanding that trans individuals suffer from not having equal rights. And definitely I know you've been hearing, I'm sure, about the trans athlete ban they're trying to do. So an Equality Act and also the Ohio Fairness Act are all ones that would affect trans rights. So if you have a chance, definitely look into all of those, but definitely today we're here to talk about trans rights. And personally, I've listened to some pretty horrific stories from trans individuals. I've heard some stories of verbal abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse. And a lot of those go actually unheard about. And the reason is because most trans individuals don't say anything because they feel like it's not going to be taken seriously or understood anyway. So they get to walk around and suffer and no one knows that it's happened to them. And it's not okay. And it's time for us to stand up as a community and say that. And I have taken my stand as a cisgendered female and taken my platform, and I'm hoping to be a voice for trans individuals in Lake County. So I'm hoping all of you will also join us in taking that stand and fighting for trans rights today and writing letters to our senators and our congresspeople and explaining how that makes you feel, if it affects you and your family or your friends, or just today, if anything you hear today changes your mind. Please let them know. There's things you can do. We're not just hopeless. So you can definitely have your voice heard, and I hope you do. So with that, I will turn it over to Gio.
Let's give Betty a round of applause. Hi everyone, my name is Geauga Santiago. I use he, him, his pronouns. I'm the Northeast Ohio Regional Organizer with Equality Ohio. I'm also the founder and CEO of Meta Center Inc., which stands for Motivate, Educate, Transform, and Advocate. It's a nonprofit I started about 5.5 years ago based in Akron, geared towards assisting transgender and gender nonconforming youth and young adults ages 5 to 25. But Betty asked me to be here today, I guess in one of the many roles that I wear the hat in, and mostly that's Equality Ohio, as we do the statewide education and policy organization, we've been around about 16 years. So anytime you're seeing laws that need to be changed, that affect LGBTQ plus Ohioans, we're the ones doing the work on the ground to get that done. So we're here in the community organizing, but we also have a legal clinic. We also have a policy organization who's really at the State House, really trying to whip some of our legislators into shape. It doesn't work very often, let me be honest, as we know that they don't listen to us as often as they should, but here we are doing that. So I would love to be able to bring up some of our speakers today. We have about 6 parent and child tandem individuals that are going to be speaking today, and so I really want you to be able to listen to their stories, hear what they're saying to you, take that to heart. Don't take it with a grain of salt, because everything that you're going to hear today is going to be how somebody's experience affected them and how it's going to affect the next person and what we really need to do to enact change. So Annie is our first speaker today. So
Thank you so much.
Okay, hi everyone. I wasn't going to get choked up, but I'm already choked up. This is the first time I've ever spoke. I'm a parent of a transgender daughter. She's 12 years old. She is the first transgender person I ever met. When Brady was 18 months old, she came out and said to me when we were in the mall, when she could barely learn and she barely could talk, "Mom, God made a mistake. I'm a girl." And to me, it took me back at 18 months. She wasn't even 2 years old yet, that she already knew who she was. And I didn't know who she was at that point because I was ignorant to what it meant to be transgender. And so that's when the education came in. That's when I had to teach myself and want to learn to help my child, because she was struggling already because she had a twin brother and they were always characterized together as twin boys. She wasn't a boy, she's a girl. She's always been a girl. So at that point, Brady transitioned a little while later. It took me a while to get to where I needed to be. I did a lot of self-reflection, I did a lot of reading, I met a lot of people. My daughter made me a more compassionate, empathetic human being. And all I'm asking is any parents, grandparents, or any family members are on the fence in support of their trans family member, just do some deep dive on yourself and ask yourself why does it matter to you? It shouldn't matter to you. What you need to do is support your child because they're struggling with something that I didn't know about. I knew trans people existed, but I didn't get it. I get it now. Brady, once she transitioned, when she was about 4 or 5 years old, she socially transitioned. She was thrown out of her school. She went to a Catholic school, and they decided that the priest was my neighbor. He knew my children. I lived right next to the school. He decided that it was going to be a problem for Brady to transition at the school, so she had to leave. Now, all the parents that were at the school that were friends of mine watched this all go down. And nobody really has to say anything, because I'm not looking for anybody to fall on the sword for me or my family. But the lack of support was surprising, I'll tell you that. So Brady, eventually she had to leave the school. Then it came also, not only did things happen because of the school, but in my own family. My father and my mother are supportive. It's a lot. My friendships have changed in my life. People question things that I was never questioned at, that people would never think of asking questions of a cisgender person. I get asked if my daughter's had a sex change operation. I was asked that when she was 7 years old. That's not okay. No one's having a sex change at 7 years old. It's just a social transition. So anyway, that's it. I just want to hit that point home. But Brady, now that she is 12, she's in the public school system. She's doing great. She's thriving. And now, at this point in time, we're going to come up against the school board problems that we're seeing, where there's going to be lack of support within the school systems as far as rainbow stickers for support for children within the school system, to know that they're being supported. I think it's a huge deal for kids to know that they have a teacher that is supportive, because a lot of teachers are not. And so for them to have a safe space, I think these things needs to change. And that's why I'm speaking out. I'm speaking out because somebody has to. And I only know 2-3 other parents in Lake County that have transgender children, because people don't want to talk about it. They're afraid of being judged by other people. They're afraid of the judgment that comes with it. There's nothing to judge. I'm here because I'm a parent who loves my transgender daughter, and that's never going to change. So, that's all. Thank you so much.
And now we want to hear from Brady.
Hello, my name is Brady and I'm a transgender girl.
Can't hear you.
You can?
There you go.
Hello, my name is Brady and I'm a transgender girl. I am a normal girl who plays soccer and I even do cheerleading for my school. But some people are trying to push me out of things I love, like sports. I just want to live a normal life like my friends and peers. When I grow up, I want to see schools accepting LGBTQ students and for schools to teach about LGBTQ history. Schools should be a safe place for everyone, but transgender students get bullied and schools don't even acknowledge the bullying and the correct name and pronouns for transgender students. Medical care is hard to access for transgender people, and it's not right. Medical care should be for everyone. We should be treated like everyone else. I have to fight for my rights at such a young age, and it's honestly terrifying. I've had to fight for my name changed at my school. I have to fight for proper medical care, and I've had to fight for the right to play on sports teams. It's not right. Thank you, and protect trans kids.
Awesome job, Brady. And I just want to point out that Brady was extremely nervous about speaking, so can we give her another round of applause? She did an amazing job. It is not easy to get up here and tell your story and really pour your heart out for people, even if those individuals are supporters. So just awesome job, both of you. And I'm glad that you spoke about playing sports, because that's really why we're here today, to talk about how to protect trans youth in sports, and even more important than that, to the point of what you said, Mom, about people asking about Brady's genitals at 7. Like, that's what's happening when we're having these conversations, when these lawmakers are having these conversations. We are talking about the parts of children. That is what is at the heart of it. The parts of children. Why does it matter? Sports is rooted in ability, not always genetics. So if you're running faster, sometimes it's just because you worked harder. It has nothing to do with how you were born. And so we like to bring that back to the focus at Equality Ohio, because we like to change hearts and minds while changing laws. And having these very authentic conversations is how that happens. We don't need to be talking about the parts of children. So I'm just going to read from some of our policy work, so that way it can be very accurate and correct, and I'm not just quoting things because I'm good at doing that. But when it comes to policy, we want it to be spot on. So this is from our policy director at Equality Ohio. Trans youth are under attack in Ohio. Recently, lawmakers introduced House Bill 61 and Senate Bill 132. the so-called Save Women's Sports Act. The bills would ban trans athletes from participating in teams that align with their gender identity in both high school and college sports. This comes after a wave of radical anti-trans bills all over the country, threatening the safety and the health of our young athletes at a time when they need it most. The bills do not reflect scientific or political realities. Over 70% of Ohioans agree with equal legal protections for LGBTQ plus Ohioans. There is strong support for trans athletes within athletics in our state. OSHA, National Olympic Committee, and the NCAA have had guidelines for inclusion for many, many years without complaints. These bills do not represent our values. The state of Ohio is poised to lose a lot of money athletically at the collegiate level if this passes. Once again, we know how to hit them. We know that dollars is what counts. We saw what happened in North Carolina with the bathroom bill. We're seeing what's happening in California right now. Ohioans cannot even travel to California for work if this passes. State-funded work would not be allowed to California because California said they're not dealing with it. Ohioans, we have to really set the stage. We have to speak up, we have to protect trans youth, and we have to let our legislators know that what they are doing is not okay. And if they don't listen, vote them out. Period, point, end of day. Because we voted them in. If they're not doing what we are asking them to do as their constituents, vote them out. That is how you make your voice matter. That is how they know that trans lives matter and that trans youth are important and that we have to protect them. So we're going to have another fabulous parent tandem come up. You want to go first, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Valentine, correct?
Yeah, Valentine.
Valentine.
Yeah. Are you going to come up with me? Sure, I'll come up with you. I've never spoken in front of anybody, so I'm going to be shaking for a little bit. So I'm Blake's mom. I'm here today to talk about being a parent to a trans child. Blake came out as trans 3 years ago and was lost to the world. This is hard because I have to explain how I was secretly drowning as a parent by trying to keep my son afloat, safe, and happy. I wanted my son to be happy with himself even though he wasn't. I saw the looks from people that we didn't even know. I heard comments from employees from my work saying that I was going to hell as a parent. I sat up late nights with him as he asked me to let him die. I wiped the blood away and I bandaged his arms. Blake ended up going to a mental hospital facility, and I felt like the worst parent because my child hated himself and I couldn't do anything about it. That facility knew nothing of trans children or how to help. So we were back to square one. I just felt like nothing was making a difference. He developed an eating disorder, panic, anxiety attacks as he continued to die inside and out. As a mother, I'm going to be there for my son through everything he needed, but I was lost myself. I sucked it up and shoved it all down. I had to be there for him. I love him. Everything took a turn when Blake found like-minded friends in the LGBTQ plus allies group in Lake County. He started going outside, getting out of hoodies, talking to people, and soon he stepped back from self-harm. I saw him smile, but in the background I was constantly fighting for him but not taking care of myself. I was emotionally, physically, and mentally exhausted. I wasn't talking to anyone. I wasn't keeping my own therapy, dentist appointments, physician appointments. He came first, so he was safe. We found the Emily program for the eating disorder. It's an amazing facility, but it was also 6 appointments a week for a few months. And I was constantly worried that I would be without a job. Psychology, psychiatry, medications. Cleveland Pride Clinic even told us that we were too far away. So we were back to square one again. Blake needed to know that what his rights were. He needs to feel and be safe. That it's not okay to be discriminated against. We've marched for LGBTQ rights, Black rights, we've marched for Pride, we fought for his rights with the future for Senator Antonio. We surrounded him with positive and supportive people, but I still felt worthless. Blake still has to fight every day, and still today. Because not everywhere is a safe place like we all think it is, not even in the year 2021. He can't go to all churches and be supportive. Blake puts his preferred name on medical forms in hopes that they will call him correctly in the waiting room and not out him. Clothing stores are segregated that he can't peacefully purchase clothes he feels comfortable in without getting a sneer. 6 teachers outed Blake in the first 3 days of high school, and one of the teachers specifically told him that he had to use his girl's name, his dead name. 2 months into school, the bullying has not stopped. Blake's friend's dad forbid them to talk to each other. Why? Why, he asked, can people not just let me be me? I still don't have an answer for that, but we will continue to fight because I'm a great mom and I love my son.
I didn't think I'd cry, but I did. Do you want me to? It's up to you. Okay.
Screen's all wet. Hi, I'm Blake. I'm a trans female male 14-year-old. I have been out for 3 years now, and there have been a lot of ups and downs. When I first started figuring out myself, before I came out, I was miserable, and I constantly hid in my room. I wore hoodies, I did self-harm, and it was just awful. When I sat down and told my mom that I was trans, she accepted me. It was a wonderful feeling, and it still is when I look back at it, to just be accepted by the closest family member you have after being so afraid to come out. Once I told my mother how scared I was, she asked why, and I told her that it's because she never even talked about it. I didn't know how she felt about it, and that was important to me. And I just want to let all the parents know that if you have a trans child, please talk about LGBTQ at least a little bit, so then they know that it's okay. It didn't help though. I gained more weight and I constantly wanted to die. I ended up going to the mental facility and I stayed there for a week. That also did not help. My mother was constantly trying to make me happy, get me outside, and not want, and she never wanted me to die. I still felt unhappy with my body, and I still do. I was on the swim team for years and was invited to Cleveland State, but I quit because of how uncomfortable I felt in women's bathing suits. Sorry. And I don't belong on the women's team because I am a male. I gave it all up. We continued to struggle and try and figure out what to do. But then we met this wonderful lady right there, Betty.
Yeah, Betty!
Yeah. They helped me find the right path, and I will forever be grateful for them. They just helped me find support, and we finally had something in Lake County. We started going into the men's section for clothes, and I was able to be myself. It's very hard for me personally as a trans male with a woman body. I feel ugly and disgusting because I'm overweight, and I feel awful about myself because I'm not the correct gender. When I started 9th grade, I finally saw the awful truth of how kids can be. The bullying has not stopped, and I don't know if it will. The school is trying to help, but nothing has really worked. Kids that I have never met until the first day constantly make fun of me for being overweight and trans. I have even had rocks thrown at me. I even had the thought of going back to being a girl just so I don't have to deal with the bullying. I will not do that. That is not me, and I will not go back to hiding. I am constantly judged in gym where I don't participate anymore. I do have a great group of friends at school, and it's great with that. My English teacher is probably the best teacher I will ever have. They are also part of the LGBTQ community, so that's very helpful. I constantly wonder what I did wrong to get bullied for just being myself, and I'm tired of it. I wish that everyone could just live their lives happily, but the sad truth is that it will never happen. But we can support everyone throughout their journey, and I have made it this far, and it is very shocking to me. I never expected to be standing here rambling on about my story in front of all these people I don't even know. But my mom and I will continue to fight, and it will take a lot to bring us down.
Again, I'd like to thank everyone for being here. I know everyone is, the kids and the parents that have talked so far have talked about LGBTQ in Lake County. So I thought I'd jump up here real quick and give you a little bit of background. So I am the executive director and founder. I founded the organization in 2019. I did that because there was a lack of services and support in Lake County. And as both parents have both touched on, the closest LGBTQ anything was 50 miles away and still is. That would be the Cleveland Center or Metro Pride Clinic. So I didn't understand, and that was a problem for me. I did go to the leaders of Lake County and try to get some help. I said, there's no support here for LGBTQ individuals. What are you going to do about it? They said, we know, we're working on it. I said, what does working on it mean? They said, we're talking about it. I said, what are your steps? They said they didn't have any at that time. I didn't understand how that could be. People were dying, and I knew that. I know that trans individuals are 50% more likely to have suicide ideation. I know that youth are 8 times more likely to attempt suicide than heterosexual youth. And that is already the #1 killer for 11 to 14-year-olds in Ohio currently. So that's just being a heterosexual child. So now you're going to put that 8 times and tell me you're still working on it. I don't see a way not to have support and services for a community that's drowning. So I stepped in, my partner and I, Daphne, started the organization, and we're continuing to go. It's 2.5 years later. As long as the LGBTQ community of Lake County and the surrounding areas need us, we'll be here. So if you know anyone or you need help yourself, please don't hesitate to reach out. I am just a one-woman show. I do everything, so I'm behind all the emails, all the text messaging, Facebook messages, anything that'll come directly to me. So feel free to reach out if you're struggling in any way.
Thank you, Betty. I met Betty in 2019 when I started with Equality Ohio. And she was one of the contacts that I needed to make because I knew she was doing amazing things in Lake County. But I also knew from running my own nonprofit and being a one-man show what that was like. As I said earlier, I've had my nonprofit a little over 5 years, and I'm still a one-man show. So the work has to get done, and I'm so thankful to have other people like Betty and Chris in Geauga, who does Geauga SOGI, doing the same things and knowing that this has to happen. As I said earlier, my name is Gio. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I am a transgender male. So I know what it is like to navigate the world as someone who is trans. I also know what it is like to navigate the world as a Black trans person. So Betty talked about how hard it was to be LGBTQ identified, and even more than that, how hard it is to be trans identified. Add the racial component to that. That is what my life is like every day. If you take a look at the crowd that is here right now, that is what my life is like every day. Every single day I leave my house, I have to be on guard. And I pass very well. So passing is the term that we use when the gender that aligns with you is how the world sees you. So I identify as male, and I pass very well as male in this world. And I still have to be on guard every day. Just in case I run into someone who knew me before. Just in case I run into someone who has heard me speak, and they're like, oh, that person is trans, and we're gonna target them. The state of Ohio has 0 statewide protections for LGBTQ identified individuals. I'll say that again. the state of Ohio has 0 statewide protections for LGBTQ identified people. That is why the Ohio Fairness Act has to pass. That is why the Equality Act has to pass. And that is why we have to continue to do this work. It is very hard having to navigate life as a teenager. We've all been there. Even if we thought it was fun, it was hard at some points. And to be a trans teen is even harder. And when they are trying to take away something that you love, like sports, what is left for you? That's what Blake just told us. What is left? What is left when you feel like there's nothing that you can do in this life, when you've excelled at something? When you have to change entirely who you are. That is what these youth are having to do. And we know as a youth, you are already still trying to formulate who you are as a person. So you don't want to be beaten down. You don't want to have to feel like you can't go to school and not be bullied because the teachers are not protecting you. If you are an educator, it is your job to protect these children. The parents' job, the educator's job, the lawmaker's job. Teachers should not be belittling students and calling them by dead names. A piece of paper doesn't matter. If somebody told you what their name is, that is what you use. So at the end of the day, we have to stand up. We have to continue to do this work because the children need us. Adults who are LGBTQ identified need us. And it's people like myself and Betty and other people who are doing this work. We are doing this work because we've lived this life and we know what it is like for the future. I started Meta not for me. I started Meta for other people. I'm also an honorably disabled vet. I helped the Wade Park VA open the very first transgender specific clinic in the entire VA system. That had nothing to do with me, because I was already receiving my care. It is about assisting other people. We have to help one another. And because we know if we help one another, we can be a stronger community. And the community does not have to be just those who identify as LGBTQ. We need allies also. We need allies to the trans community. We need allies to the LGBTQ community. We need allies to the Black community. All of it matters because at the end of the day, we can all get to the top. So let's continue to do this work. I'm going to bring up another parent-child tandem. And Ember, I think you're going to go first.
Hi, I'm Ember. I am a junior at Chagrin Falls High School. I am on the softball team, and I am trans. I use she, they pronouns. I have been out for almost 4 or 5 years now, and it's been a long process to get to where I am. Right now, I am on the softball team, and I am comfortable and I am happy with myself. I feel confident and I enjoy being with my teammates and being who I am. But I'm worried that with the trans athlete bill, this might not be the case anymore. I'm worried that my right to be able to play as myself, as a girl, might no longer be something I get to do. I have played baseball before. I've done it, and it's not for me. I don't fit in. I'm not a boy. I'm not a boy. That's that, and that's not going to change. So, yeah, please vote.
Hi, I am Meta, and I extremely proud mother of Ember and a son back there who does not want me to embarrass. We live just up the street in South Russell, 10 minutes away. I'm also on the board of Geauga SOGI Support Network, which is a nonprofit that started in April, just after the pandemic. So we've had a rough start getting going, but we've got a lot of support groups and a lot of events, and we're so excited to be here, and we hope you all stop by our table and pick up information and learn more about us. So you've heard from some pretty amazing people today. And of course, I'm gonna cry like everybody else before I even started. I can't help it. But I really want to talk about what the legislation, particularly the athlete ban, means to us. Most people don't know this, but the Ohio High School Athletic Association has had a policy about transgender athletes since the 2015-2016 school year. And in those 6 years, there have been 35 trans male athletes, this is in grades 7 through 12, and 11 females. My daughter is one of 11. They have 400,000 athletes in the state every year. And in 6 years, they need to save women's sports from those 11 girls? Are you kidding me? I just can't even imagine what is going through these people's minds. My daughter wanted to play sports since she was in 7th grade, and she couldn't because she would have had to play on the boys' teams. And everyone asked, well, why don't just play as a boy? Who cares? No big deal. And she would look at us and say, do you have any idea how dehumanizing that is? I'm not a boy. I don't fit in there. I can't do that. That would be living a lie for me. So she waited. She waited and waited. And finally, the spring of her sophomore year, she qualified to play on a female team. And my kids were virtual last year because of the pandemic. And when I received the email and I ran up to show her, the tears of joy that was flowed in our house at that moment were unbelievable. My poor son thought something horrible had happened. It was like, oh my goodness, what's wrong? And she turned and looked at him and said, with tears flowing down her cheeks, the state agrees I'm a girl. How incredible to have the state say, yes, you are who you say you are. Now, the thought of having all of that taken away just is a knife in my stomach as a parent. Seeing her play is such an incredible thing for her. Not only is it validating of who she is, but it's so important to think about how important sports are in our culture. I'm not an athlete, never really was, so I don't personally get it. But if I had to think about the things that I do, my activities taken away from me by the government, and how horrible that would make me feel, that's exactly what these kids are going through. And softball is what has become a stress relief for her. You know, it's where she makes friends. It's where she feels like she belongs. And all she wants, she doesn't want special rights. She just wants the same rights that all the other middle and high school students have in this state. She just wants to be able to be on the team. She wants to have that camaraderie. She wants the chance to work hard. And she wants the chance to be who she is. All the legislation that we've seen coming both in our local, state, and federal governments right now, in Ohio here, the trans athlete bill, the possible bill that they've been looking at back and forth about banning health care for affirming trans health care for youth. The legislation that was just passed with the budget back in March that allows medical community to legally discriminate against people, including LGBTQ people. All of that stuff sends these kids the message, they are not important. We don't care about you. We don't value you, and you are less than. No one should ever hear that from their government, anybody, ever. So what I ask you all today is to join me. Look at these kids. These are the bravest kids I know. Tell them They are welcome here. We want you here. You matter. You are important. And you are so loved. And don't give up. Thank you.
Can we just give these parents and these youth another round of applause? So I am personally in the business of fixing problems. It's just like, I'm a glutton for punishment. And as all of these young people have said, they love sports. They want to be able to play sports. And so I have found a slither of a way to fix some of that in another hat that I wear. I am also the new youth sports director for LGBTQ youth sports with Studio West 117. So Studio West 117 is this large hub that is being built in Lakewood, so I know it's a little far away, but I promise you it will be worth it. We will groundbreak on this facility. It's being torn down and rebuilt right now. We will cut the ribbon in May, and I will start programming in June. I want all of the youth that are here right now that have talked about the ability to play sports to come see me there, because we will be playing sports. Whether you are LGBTQ identified, or your sibling, or your nibbling is, we want everybody to come and play sports. Because I'm gonna let these kids play sports. And then we're gonna show the legislation why it is important not to pass these laws. Ember asked us to vote. I'm gonna ask you again to vote. I'm not gonna tell you how to vote because that's not my business. I will tell you to vote. Vote like Ember is your child. Vote like Blake is your child. Vote like Brady is your child. Vote like I am. Because guess what? At the end of the day, that is how we create this uprising and make people understand. You cannot treat people like they don't matter. Every single child that is here matters, as we've talked about. Equality Ohio, like I said, is the policy org in Ohio. We do all of the LGBTQ policy alongside the ACLU and other organizations. We have a free legal clinic, so if you are within 300% of the poverty line and you are LGBTQ identified, and obviously that is not just the youth, come see us. 1-855-LGBT-LAW. We do name changes, we do some family court stuff. We work alongside Trans Ohio, which is the other statewide trans org. Blake talked about clothes. Margie's Closet, that is also located within Studio West, is a clothing store. They do clothing swap. Go there. We know the centers in Cleveland. We know Betty's doing her thing in Lake County. Geauga SOGI, Meta's in Akron. Colors Plus Youth Center is in Fairview Park. We are here for the youth. We are here doing the work that needs to be done. And I tell you, when that stuff happened with the budget in June, I was in Columbus at the State House with flags and cussing everybody out. I was cussing everybody out. Because you know what? It's not okay. It's not okay to sneak stuff in a budget at 11 p.m. We flooded their inboxes. We flooded their voicemails. They still weren't listening. And then what do? We vote them out. So at the end of the day, we have to look at the people who are here in support of this work. Volunteer with these orgs. Because as Betty said, as I've said, we are one people shows. We need the assistance. Volunteer and make some calls for the Equality Act, for the Ohio Fairness Act. We're going to do some postcards. Write these postcards. Let your legislators know that trans youth lives matter. And that you cannot sneak stuff in the bill at the 11th hour. Literally and figuratively. That is not okay. I'm going to bring Brian back up here to talk a little bit more about what we're going to do and kind of close this out. you gotta rub that in, huh?
First and foremost, we need to give another round of applause to the youth that shared their story today. I speak in front of people for a living. There's nothing more intimidating than sharing your own story, especially when it is such a vulnerable position to be sharing it from. Where? 1, 2, 3 of you. I want you to know how powerful it was to share that story, how much respect I have for you as someone who does this every week, for sharing your story, and I want you to know how much you are loved by this group of people right here. You also heard a couple times stories about churches or religious people being less than supportive. I don't really like that. Particularly, and I'm going to assert a little pastor's privilege here, as somebody who works for Jesus, I feel it's mutilating Jesus' story. We shared today in worship the story of the centurion. It's a story that's in Matthew and Luke, 2 Gospels of 4, 50%. The story, when you read it in English, it's always the centurion running up to Jesus and saying, I need you to heal my servant, or I need you to heal this young boy. There's a funny thing about the Greek. The Greek implies it's a same-sex couple. There's no getting around words and what they mean, and that word means it's a same-sex couple. And Jesus' response is to act with compassion and love and say, okay, let's go heal him. And the centurion, who, by the way, is the oppressor of the Jews, says, no, I believe so much that I think you can just say it from here and it'll work. And Jesus' response is to hold this person up as having greater faith than anyone else in Israel. This guy in a same-sex relationship. So while people who may claim to be followers of Jesus or claim to be followers of God in another faith may have their issues, know that there are those who are loving and supportive. Know the truth of the matter is that love is the root of all things, and that communities of love and acceptance abound. If you are looking for a faith community that is affirming, you can check out gaychurch.org. You can Google open and affirming. That's the UCC language. Other denominations have other language. So please know there are faith communities out there. Not just Christian. There are Jewish synagogues out there. There's Islamic communities. There are spiritual communities out there for everyone. And that understand that love roots us all. We also need to understand that Jesus was not a pansy. And Jesus got angry too. And I think we heard a lot of things to be angry about today. And it is how we use that anger, constructively or destructively, that matters. So I'm going to invite you all to be constructive in your anger right now. I'm going to invite you all to come up. We're going to pull the bins off here in a minute, because the rain magically stopped just in time for us to start writing letters.
Look at that. Look at God, right?
Might be God, I don't know. It's kind of like there is sometimes. To start writing letters to, we're going to target 2 people. Okay? We're going to target Attorney General Dave Yost, and we're going to target State Senator Diane Grendel. She's the state senator for this area. We're going to target Dave Yost because he has been a bit of a stinker and decided to file a brief in support of basically removing all federal protections for LGBTQ people. That is crap. So feel free to write a letter with better language than that.
Or that language.
Because we're being constructive. We're being constructive. Saying you need to pull that back. You need to stop. He gave the excuse, well, you know, it's not the federal government's business. No, it is. And if it makes people more vulnerable, it's not something he should be doing. Because he's everyone's Attorney General, and he's supposed to be dedicated to everyone's safety. We're also going to target Diane Grendel, because she is the state senator who will be voting on the legislation you heard about. Target her, telling her how important it is for trans kids to be supported. Tell her how stupid it is to pass a ban when we already have a plan in place here in Ohio through our Ohio School Athletic Association. Tell her that she needs to be supporting the LGBTQ people in her district. And tell her that you are watching, and you are paying attention, and yes, you do vote. So, we're going to get these tables wiped off here, the bins will come up, and we'll get we got pens, we got paper, we got clipboards. If you need a clipboard and paper and pen brought to you, feel free to throw your hand up in the air, we'll get it to you. And do something now. I know we go to these rallies and we always hear, do something! And then we go home and the dog's barking and the dishes need done and this carpet hasn't been vacuumed in like 5 years. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just me, okay. But anyway, don't go home and get distracted. You're focused now. You've heard the words now. You've heard the reasons now from 3 kids who are 3 of the bravest people I've ever met. Honor them in their bravery by coming up and writing a letter to Dave Yost and Diane Grendel. Thank you. Thank you for coming out. And thank you for supporting these wonderful organizations that are local, they are here, and they are making a difference. So in about 2 seconds, we'll have the bins up. I'll come up to the mic and we'll start our writing.